Hello, this is the front desk.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Crackin' Backs podcast with your hosts Dr. Terry Wyman and Dr. Spencer Barron. How you doing this morning, guys?
Doing pretty good, Lance, bud.
Real good, buddy.
It's great to hear. So today we are joined by Tamra Dae. Tamra is a former fitness model turned advocate and branding specialist. In 2019, she went public with her battle with breast implant illness by making a short documentary following her into surgery, which had a massive ripple effect across the globe. She now uses her platform to help other women battling the same illness and firmly believes that God led her to be exactly where she is now, leading with authenticity, love, and truth. How are you doing this morning, Tamra?
Oh, thank you for that. I'm wonderful. It was so eloquent.
It's great to hear.
And especially while you're carrying your little dog in your lap.
You guys, I'm sorry. This is what happens when you work from home now, is that they don't leave you alone.
The face, though, the expression is priceless.
She's very stern. She's
totally fine.
She's serious.
You know, he looks just like your father. You know?
Oh.
You know what? My other one, if I could pick him up, he's 30 pounds. He looks more like my dad.
Well, we're going to go with that one for right now.
He'd be so happy to hear that, too. Thank you.
Hopefully he listens so he can hear that. You know?
As long as it's a grandchild, right? It's like
exactly.
whatever it takes.
Right. Whatever it takes, you know. As you know, well, the audience doesn't know, but I've known you pretty much your entire life. And, you know, we're just going to start right off with it, especially since it talks about brought up in the intro. But we live in a world where it seems like the importance of vanity and the push for physical perfection is even at the cost of your health is becoming like this important thing, whether it's the internet or whatever. But you have quite the story. But before we get into that story of where your journey is now, I want to go back a little bit to talk about how you got into bodybuilding and fitness model, since my host is a bodybuilding and fitness model himself. And so I kind of want to know how you got into the whole, into that world.
Okay, well, yeah. So you know my family since probably before I was born, right? Or right around the same time before. And you know, both my parents are bodybuilders, and I grew up around that industry, so to speak, or that world of fitness. And it's ironic that I did get into it because I thought for the longest time, like, I want nothing to do with this crazy ass industry. Like, these people just spending their lives in the gym and greasing themselves up to get on stage to pose in front of people. Like, you guys are just so strange. And then not to mention, you know, having my mom look the way that she does, and she's very built, you know, and I just remember, you know, as a kid, you perceive everything so differently and everything just seems larger. And I just always remember people being like, oh, your mom's so buff, and like, oh, your mom's so scary, and like, how do you, like, I get you just don't get away with anything. And everywhere we went, you know, women were always like, can I touch your shoulders? And oh my God, I just felt like my parents are for sure freaking natures. Like, I don't understand why they'd want to be like this. So, you know, even though I was into sports, bodybuilding was never something that intrigued me or was something I thought I would get into. And truly, I didn't even pick up a weight until I skipped the weight room during all my competitive sports. I, you know, played soccer at Cal State Northridge, and every day that there was weight room, I was like, oh, you know, my knees really killing me. Like, I wanted nothing to do with building muscle. And I think a lot of it had to do with my, you know, a lot of my own insecurities around like, muscularity and femininity, and my desire to be more feminine and not be like my mom. But I was already built from a young age. Like, I had the shoulders my mom had. And, you know, like even right now, like, I haven't lifted my arms in probably like, I don't know, 4 months or something. And it's like, I'm like my mom. So whether I could run from it or not, it was happening. And I was running from it. And so, stopped soccer from an injury, and I got into spray tanning via like, I don't know, I was working at a tanning salon when I was young, and I was really good. I was really artistic. My brain is so much more the creative and the arts, and, you know, the other side of my family is all medical, all, you know, athletics, and I had a mix of the two. So got into spray tanning, started a business with that at 19, and I had a competitor who I was spraying one day, and I wasn't usually my world. My world was in entertainment and nothing to do with bodybuilding. But I had one bodybuilder, and, you know, I was spraying him, and I was in a tank top or something, and you get strong holding the gun and doing your thing, and he's like, "You're like way too buff for no reason. Like, what are you doing with your life?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, this is just how I am." And he goes, "You're going to do a show." I'm absolutely not. There's no way I'm not getting on stage. And then he dared me, and my competitive nature just rose up in me, and I hate myself for that. But, you know, it was part of the course. And in 5 weeks, I decided to sign up for a show. Never lifted in my life. You know, hadn't played soccer in probably 2.5 years. And I was like, called up my dad. I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to do a show." He's like, "What kind of show?" I was like, "A bodybuilding show." He's like, and, you know, my dad's like, "Okay, let's do it." And he goes, "How long do you have?" I was like, 5 weeks. He goes, "All right." Like, get in the gym. Had no idea what I was doing with any. They didn't know one muscle group from another. And my poor dad was just in there like, so, you know, gung-ho about it. He's like, you're gonna be great at this. And you know what? I look back and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. But I got on stage and it just washed over me, this notion of like, this is something you could really do. And I did really well at my first show, even though I made my own bathing suit, did my own posing. I tanned myself. I thought like, I'm going to kill this. This is my thing. I get up there. I just like, looking back, I got washed out. You know, I just like literally physically, my body was not tan enough. You couldn't see me on stage. The lights made me look like a ghost. I didn't know that world, but the bug was planted, and I decided if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability, like everything else. And I took to it like a competitive athlete would, and I didn't see it as an aesthetic thing. I saw it like, how high can I rise up in these ranks? So that started that bodybuilding journey, and I went hard for a little over a year and a half, just show after show after show, and didn't stop. And I did really well. You know, I showed up at a lot of like worlds, at WBFF worlds, and competed against some of the top athletes. And looking back, I mean, it was too soon for me. I was too green to it, and I didn't understand the politics in the industry. I didn't understand a lot of the inner workings of how teams, you know, operated. And I was just solo. Me and my dad, I did my meals. He trained me. And that's just, we went old school. We went grassroots with it. And I truly appreciate that part of my journey, but it also got me to see the dark side of the industry. And I got to really understand, you know, how you don't place unless you're on a particular team or you have a particular coach. And I didn't want to play into that. I knew in my soul, I was like, that is not something that I want to partake in. I want to do this for me and to show other people that you can do it without all that, you know, other nonsense. And I learned quickly with some really amazing people that mentored me, or at least had planted little seeds within me. I had a bodybuilder, Jay Cutler, come up to me after one of my shows, and I was distraught because I thought, you know, as every bodybuilder, I thought I should have placed better, and I didn't. And he actually knocked on my dressing room door, and he's like, "Hey, do you have a minute?" And he so graciously pulled me aside and was like, "You have a huge future in this industry. Like, I see something really great in you, and you just got to stay with it. Like, don't worry about their placings. Don't worry about like these shows are whack, you know." And he was really honest, and he's a dear friend of mine to this day. And he's he kind of always was there to push me, but he did instill in me that this is not everything. Like, the stage is not everything. Make your brand outside of this, and that really planted a seed. And what led me into social media and creating an online brand for getting women to understand, you know, strength over what we see in magazines. And that got me into fitness modeling. So it all had to happen the way that it happened. So, and that led me into getting the boobs. So that was, everything had to happen.
How did you feel getting caught up in the thrill of being on stage, the thrill of being backstage even, and looking at your competitors and pumping up and all that. What were some of the things that really started moving
It's so
you?
funny. Like, I still think it's so hilarious back there. Like, the amount of intensity, the, just sheer, like, distraughtness on people's faces back there. Like this is their everything. And I totally get it. I'm like, this is their thing. They've sacrificed everything for this. And I was in a similar position, but as a competitor, my whole life, a top competitor at elite, levels, I was like, this is not it. I put that competitiveness into lifting, into my gym sessions. To me, it's not the stage life, and it's not, but my artistic side, my acting, my theatrical side, loved being on stage, loved the performance aspect of it all. So it was like, I'm cool backstage, I'm chilling by myself. Everyone else is like, okay, did you get your macros in? I don't know. Should we do this? I'm thinking about a little bit of water. And I'm just there like, feet up, chilling, and then the lights go on, they call my name or my number, and I get on and I just turn it on. And like, that was for me the thrill of why people do this, or why I continue to do it, was like entertainment, truly. And I realized there's something here for me within the fitness world and within entertainment and within all the aspects of things that I've studied and learned, like I could merge them all. But as soon as I learned about not being placing where you deserve to be, so to speak, and I had judges come up to me after my last show, and they're like, look, we're not supposed to be saying anything to you, but you placed 1 on our score sheet, but we already had 1 and 2 placed before the show because they're ambassadors from Australia, and we're so sorry, but please try again next year to get your pro card. And that was where I literally just threw my hands up and I went, it's not worth it for me. Like, I don't want it if it's going to be in a way that is undeserving or just not fair. And I could have definitely pushed through and continued to compete and continue to try to get to those top marks, but that wasn't my goal. My goal was to show well, to do what I could do best. And as soon as I knew like I was at the top spot, I just like, okay, I don't need the accolades for it. I know what I've done. And at that point I had already dipped my toes into social media and was thinking this could be something I could really build upon. And I walked away from the sport and honestly never looked back, because I just excelled in lifting and in my my ability to connect with women off stage. And I think my story pre getting implants, my story of just trying to accept my womanhood with the body that I had, and moving into a very lean and muscular frame, when that had been something I was so scared of having my whole life and so trying to work away from. I was on social media moving through this whole phase of my life where I was like, is this really how you want yourself to look? But the response I was getting from women was so positive and so encouraging for me that I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to this. I've never had female friends in that regard. I've never had people give me positive praise for my aesthetic. It was always my abilities in sports. And so, it filled a part of me that I was deeply lacking. And I think that it made me dive further into wanting to prove people wrong, prove myself wrong. And there was a lot of angst that went along with that part of my life. And like I talk about with so many other walks that I've had, it's like I needed to walk through that. I needed to be that person, that storyteller for other women, to say like, your body can be whatever you want to make of it, as long as you're feeling confident and healthy. And it felt authentic to me at the time. It's been 7 years since that, and my mentality has shifted. God has really shifted the way I even perceive our physicality, and especially myself showing up online as a woman, and in my life. So I have done a complete 180 since that person. It feels even foreign talking about her, because it's so much of the person I was trying desperately to find myself, so to speak, to be in that whole like self-love world. I was really trying for it. And people say that fitness is what like helps them do that. And I do agree, but I never got the like, fitness is my everything. I live, breathe, sleep this bodybuilding. The gym saved me. No, God took that away from me real fast, stripped me from my physicality, my abilities, my aesthetics so fast when my head got in that game that I knew like, this isn't it.
So let me ask you, the idea that, and the irony behind being on stage and looking at your best is not necessarily your healthiest. And we've always known that bodybuilding competitions you're probably at your worst physical state,
absolutely,
biochemically and, biologically, but you look fantastic, So when did it start getting unhealthy for you?
You know what's funny is because of the way I did it with my dad, I was at like, for who I was at the time, for having never bodybuilded, never, set foot in a gym, I was actually at the healthiest I was ever at, because I was one of those athletes that was gifted but did not take care of myself. I'm in college playing D1 soccer, eating McDonald's because it was the only thing I could afford at the time. So like I was that athlete. I'm a better athlete now than I was at 20. You know what I mean? And I'm 34. So, and I don't do anything competitively like I did before. I just take care of my body now. I listen to it. So, and I treat it well. Before I did not treat it well. So for me, competing, that's why I looked at those people backstage. I'm like, oh my God, you guys look horrible. And you can like barely lift a weight. Whereas like for myself, I could go out and, sometimes between shows, between prejudging and finals, like I'd go eat a burger. Like I didn't care. I was like, this is who I am. And, still placed well, but it was the unhealthiness that I discovered was in the way people started viewing themselves after stage. It was like, this is the leanness, this is the aesthetic that I need to keep 24/7. And it wasn't realistic. And I would talk to girls about that all the time, because my off season, so to speak, which I didn't have because I just competed through and through for those almost 2 years, I loved myself thicker. Now, this plays into the psychology of who I was beforehand. Was when my muscle was covered, I felt more feminine. I felt like this is the person I'm supposed to be. And so I truly liked being thicker and a little like fluffy, whatever they call it. And that was actually where my niche came in social media. Was the minute I started gaining a little bit of weight and becoming thicker, girls were like, I want to be that size. I want to be that muscular. I want to be that curvy. And so I created kind of this little play on words called masculinity, which was this femininity and muscularity, play together, because I wasn't seeing it in my industry. I wasn't seeing fitness models. You were either lean and like a supermodel tall with like a little bit of muscle, or you were just jacked and ripped and it wasn't feminine really at all. So I kind of came into this lane that what didn't exist and decided this is who like people need to see more of. And I was getting that feedback, but then I got my breast implants and I never competed again after that, because I just slowly started the decline of my health after that without really knowing it. And now retrospectively, I know it was immediate, but
mental health, as far as mental health, at what point did you say, I need implants and that'll make me look more symmetrical, healthier, what more?
Let me tell you, that was probably years in the making of my insecurities of seeing people in entertainment, seeing women that I wanted to be like. And I was the tomboy. I had muscles. I wasn't built like that. And I always felt like if I just had boobs, I would feel like a woman. And this is like majority of women say this. Not everyone's in bodybuilding, but majority say that they feel like a little boy or something. And so I totally understand that. But my mental health, so to speak, was never good. I had deep depression growing up. I had some sexual traumas in my past that really were rearing its head around that time. And I didn't realize I was masking it and covering it all by just this desire to reach this physical level of femininity. And then the work I've done since and the revelations I've had since is that implants truly do keep you away from people ever getting close to you. And that was my ultimate underlying desire. Though we want closeness, my trauma said, keep everyone away. I don't want anyone to get to know how broken I am, how hurt I am, how really scared I am of the world. So I'm going to place these things over my heart, over this place where you go in for hugs, this, just the center of truly who we are, and say, I'm just going to be this powerful girl, this woman who no one can mess with, who does things in the world that people can be proud of and can look to and be inspired by, but I'm not going to get close to anyone. I didn't know all that at the time, but that's what I was struggling with. And that's the things that, since getting them out, came up and reared its head, and I had to deal with. So for the last 3 years, I've been myself and with other women, thousands of women around the world. I go deep dive into these conversations about truly what these things, these implants, are doing to us as women, besides the physical and health issues that we have from them. It's a deeper psychological conversation that you have to realize that altering, fixing, and perfecting ourselves as women is something that industries thrive off of. They make their billions off of. And stripping yourself away from that system, it's going to take a lot of mental toughness, because everything, every message around you, everything on social media, everything you see on TV is there to tell you that you are not enough the way you are. And if you just change this one thing, you just fix this one thing, you just alter this one thing, that will make you feel better about yourself. And it's all about feeling good about yourself. And that's the lie that we've been told forever.
Let me ask you about the metaphorical sense of having the implant. I thought that was really interesting, that having them created a shield or a distance from barrier. What were you afraid of?
Mm-hmm. To me, the world was scary because I hadn't dealt with my shit. I was still that 8-year-old girl who was, taken advantage of. And I thought, that'll never happen to me again if I can just become this powerful person that people look to as like, I'm not going to fuck with her. So really I built, and it's why I think I talk to a lot of girls that get into, whether it's body modification or tattoos or things that make them feel more just not your typical feminine, physique. And some aren't ready to have that conversation, and I totally respect it, because it took God just wiping it out from under me, and I went it was 0 to 100 in a matter of 2 weeks to realize all these things. And I realized my journey and why I was going to become an advocate in this, and had the platform that I had, and learned about using my voice early on, and all these things that were lining up for me to become this person in this industry. But I lost a lot of friends in the process of talking about what these things do to you, not just physically tearing apart your body, but psychologically, because the part of the journey my friends were at with them were that they loved them and they felt positive with them. And I totally respected that, because I realized that when I got them, nobody could have told me. My dad told me, they're not healthy, they're not good for you, but try to find the best ones you can, and I support you. But no one was gonna tell me differently. So I have this, this sincere understanding with women that you're not just gonna crack them wide open with your words or with facts or charts or numbers or whatever all these health things come out. I could tell them all day long, they can cause BIA-ALCL, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, and it can spread through your body. But that's not even enough to beat the psychological onslaught of messages that we get on a day-to-day basis that just tell us, just fix the one thing and you'll be better. And it sucks, but that's why I feel like I'm constantly here doing this work, even though I'd love to not talk about, breasts so much. It's it's a deeper issue, because it's why I started my podcast called Bigger Than Boobs. And I wanted to talk about this underlying issue of this need to feel accepted, to feel loved, and why we do it in a physical way. You know, we live in this world where everything is aesthetic, everything is first the visual you get from someone. And I understand that. I'm in branding, I'm in social media. Like, I get you have to draw people in and then keep them with integrity, with authenticity, with the content that really matters, but no one's going to see it if you don't drive them from the beginning. And as humans, we have this deep need to feel accepted. So if they don't get drawn in, you immediately go, oh, it's because of my visual, it's because of how I look. And truly, it's I have a theory that it's just because we're not walking in our authentic selves and in our gifts that we're given. It's because we're trying to be this facade of who we are. And I battle it daily. It's the nature of who we are as humans. It's what pulled me away from social media for years. When I got sick and after my surgery, I just wanted nothing to do with that world that I thought made me who I was. And then I realized through releasing, through letting go of a lot of the things I was holding on to, God has been revealing to me that it's not social media. It's the nature of who I was, the things I had been through, that social media was a catalyst to bring me to this place that was just going to knock me down, or I'm either going to get back into it, or it's going to take me out and I'm never going to come back to it, which is okay. But who are you going to help when I'm not in that space? Who am I going to touch? What ripple effect am I going to have if I step away from it? So I joined back up in the conversation last year and just decided, like, it's going to look a lot different. I'm not going to be the fitness model anymore. I'm not going to put my face out there, but I'm going to help other people share their gifts. And I'm going to still be there as an advocate in this, world, because we're still really far. I don't want to say like stuck in the past with it, because as you guys probably know, like, there will always be ties with big pharma and FDA and the implant industry. And you'll never, it's sad to say, but we'll never beat those beasts. What we have to do is infiltrate from the inside, get to the women's brains and the hearts, and be able to unravel that industry from the inside out. And it's happening. The conversations are happening with women not feeling like they need to go that route. And the industry is suffering. It's struggling, and they don't want to admit a lot of the things that they've known since the early 70s. And it's flabbergasting to me, but it's honestly just so accurate to how, like, our world operates. And it just makes me know, like, these powers that don't want us healthy, they want us sick, because we stay in the cycle. If you put implants in a woman, they're going to need drugs for the rest of their lives to keep them, healthy. And these other symptoms that come up that resemble MS or Crohn's or lupus, they're going to need drugs for that. And then we send them right back into the system. And then it's just this constant cash cow.
You mentioned something earlier that I think is really, really worth highlighting. And it's in this day and age, plastic surgeries and augmentations of all sorts. I mean, I'm in South Florida, and Brazilian butt lifts and, tummy
everywhere.
tucks and, everything is
it's normalized.
It's an
too,
unbelievable, there's just so many people getting it done. But anyway, point is, it's what was important that you said earlier is it's something in the core of what you believe about yourself, and where's that insecurity of wanting to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. It's really something that where you can help, these kids that are now thinking that they have to look like that person on Instagram or be like that person on Facebook or wherever, TikTok and all that. But in their core, and that's why we're having such a mental health problem right now. Their suicide is up, teenage suicide is up more than any other time in our history. So what you're doing is really fantastic and can make an impact for those who are questioning why.
And that's why I don't leave, this industry as much as I think my carnal nature wants to escape it all the time. Like, I don't want to be on social media. I don't like the constant barrage of just information. I feel myself getting anxious just being on there, sometimes working for clients, and I can, assess that now, and I'm really aware of it. But I also know that we're not called into easy spaces, and we're not called into, spaces that feel good sometimes, because that's where people need it the most. And I was just having this conversation yesterday, and I just felt like, oh, I just wish I was around more like-minded people sometimes. And those aren't the people that need you and that need the truth, And so I'm in here kind of having this fight against, truly, I mean, you talk about 3-letter organizations. These are some of the most evil things that this world, the powers and principalities against us, really operate through. And I'm trying to be a little voice over here being like, you can have a say in it. You can, make a difference in your own personal life, which will have a ripple effect. Don't worry about trying to affect hundreds of thousands of people. Just worry about you taking those steps and how it will affect those around you. Your family will see you. Your children will see you taking that, autonomous step to true health. Because we could talk about mental health all day long and say it's what we see on the internet. It's so many things. It's what they're putting in our food. It's the environment around us. It's all these things are against us, and they are coming for the next generations, and they've already got them in their grasp. And if they can make them weak, if they can make them insecure, and they can make them sick, they have them. So all I'm trying to do over here is like stand in the gap and say, look at what your body is doing. Does this feel good? Does this feel healthy to you? And try to choose that over aesthetic. It is not an easy conversation, because I know what it feels like to be in that position. And I know I'm not going to change everyone's mind. All I can say is I'm here for when you do. I'm here for when you have that little spark of like, maybe something's wrong. Maybe this isn't the way to be living. Because I see all these girls getting the fat transfers. And even my doctor who did my surgery, I'm very grateful to him. He saved my life. I know that. And because I was dying at the time of my surgery, but he doesn't do them anymore. He only does fat transfers, and it's a very lucrative position to be in right now. And I don't blame him for it. I think he could save a lot of lives doing the surgery he did for me, but that's his path. And I see a lot of these girls and guys getting these fat transfers, and though they're healthier than putting a foreign object into your body, I will concur on that, it's still not long-term proven. And anytime you take fat from one area and you move it into another area, that's trauma, that's around blood vessels, it's around nerves, anything can go wrong. So we don't even know the long-term effects of all these procedures, and I could just say I'll be here when and if anything happens, and that's all I can do, but I have to also make sure like I don't get caught up in the storm again, because it's so easy.
When did you start spray tanning? How old were you?
Like doing it or getting it done on myself?
Oh, well, doing it, but
yeah, so I worked in a tanning salon when I was 16 and a half. That was like my first kind of legal job, my unofficial job. I was working as in a Mexican restaurant cleaning the kitchen at 15, but just because I needed to buy some things for myself. But I got into tanning because I had an autoimmune condition when I got it at 13, probably due to the stress of how I handled everything in my life and internalized it all. But they told me that tanning would be something that would help, my condition. And I worked there so I could tan for free. It was just a, win-win. And my manager took to me, saw my work ethic, and was like, do you want to learn how to spray? No one was doing spray tans at the time. But there was done with like a makeup brush. And so it would take like an hour to cover a person's body. And she happened to be studying auto mechanics and body shop work at the time at her city college. And she was learning how to use the HVLP high pressure gun. And we would test on like different ingredients and stuff. And then she's like, why don't we just try to do this with our tanning solution? And we started mixing it with like water to get it a little more viscous. And then we just started being like the people in the town that were covering bodies perfectly within like 5 minutes. And then we took it to Beverly Hills. We got with all the actresses and actors out there. I got with like some of the cast of Friends, and 19 years old, I was going to like studios and spraying people with way too much trust in me. I literally didn't know what I was doing, but that was where it started. And I've had I stopped spray tanning last 2 years ago, actually, on a God call. It was like step away from that industry. But I had my clients for 11 or 12 years that just trusted me to go into their homes. And that was a great pay my way through college once I lost, scholarship money. So it was like, it's such a blessing. And all those things led to like I can see the weaving of my life and how everything had to go the way that it did, even though sometimes I was like, this is not it. I don't know how I'm making this work right now. I've always taken the path of most resistance, and my parents have warned me against it, but it's just who my nature is.
What's interesting, it's interesting though, because one of the reasons why I ask is that was an early point in your life that you were helping people cover up something, and alter their image, because a tan body, look, my ex-wife used to crack me up. She goes, "Oh, tan fat looks so much better than white fat." And I go,
if you can't tone it, tan it. That was our motto. But it's such a poignant thing that you said, because I've had to do a lot of looking at that. I've created a business around it. So in 2018, I manufactured a product based off the spray tanning solution I've been manufacturing with my personal manufacturer for years. I created a self tanner, and it was clear and organic and very minimal ingredients, and for people with sensitive skin. And I truly believed I was doing something better for the industry, being that it was not any harmful chemicals in it. I'd already been using a natural product, but this had no bronzers in it, so nothing that could like dye your skin. It just uses the oxidation process to, like an apple turns brown when it's put in the air. That's what DHA does to your skin. So it's just pure DHA, aloe, chamomile. And, truly, I have people around the world that love the product. And it's what taught me marketing. It's what really let me learn the e-commerce world, and why I do branding today was creating my own brand in that. But I have to look, a lot of the times people don't like to be self-reflective about the things they've birthed into the world and the things that they've done. And it's how I looked at what I talked about with women in the beginning about being confident in your body and loving who you are, but not looking at the sin nature of who we are and trying to pull that out of us. But now I know better. So that whole statement, it's so cliche, like when you know better, you do better. Now I have to look at my business and go, is this something that I'm putting into the world that is good? And because people do love it and appreciate it, and I have people who can't go in the sun, so they use it as just something that helps them feel a little bit better about themselves. Is it teetering on the line of the things that I don't believe in anymore? Yeah. And sometimes I want to just cut it off and walk away from it and go, I don't do that anymore. I don't promote it. I have clients that I still have that buy it, or customers, I should say. But stepping away from spray tanning was one of the hardest decisions. I had hives covering my whole body off the stress of feeling like, is this my identity that I should leave behind? Because I am helping so many people. They call me on a regular basis. It's the thing that pays my bills. If I walk away from it, I have absolutely nothing. And this was mid-COVID. I had clients who were afraid to have me over, and I didn't believe in the whole thing. Sorry about whoever watches this and doesn't understand that, but I just wasn't afraid. And I was like, look, you're going on set, you're doing all these things that you want to do. Like, this is my livelihood. But I lost a lot of clients in that. And that was just God separating me from an industry I didn't need to be in anymore, especially the entertainment industry. And I just felt like, this is it. And then when I was contemplating it and thinking about leaving, even though I had no plan B, I had made no money off social media at the time. I had stepped away from all contract sponsorships in 2018 when I got sick, and then decided it didn't suit me anymore anyways. And people always thought it was crazy. Like, how do you have 1 million followers and you don't take a dime off social media? It didn't vibe with my soul anymore. I couldn't be sponsored by anyone. It wasn't congruent. So when I stepped away from that, I had no money from that, was just spray tanning. I felt like, God, you can't be asking me to step away from something and have nothing. Like, that kind of trust is a whole other level of trust. But he's brought me out of those depths financially so many times I should have believed it. 2 days before Christmas 2021, I got robbed. My car got broken into, and all my equipment got stolen, all my solution, everything. And instead of freaking out, I just stood there and I looked up. I was like, got it. I'm done. Like, I'm not going to buy anything new. I'm not going to. And I had a client that night. I was going to go spray her. That's why I was going to my car. And I just called her up and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm so sorry. This is what happened. And, she was like, good. Now it's time to really step into what you can do. And since then, I have just excelled at branding, and that's been my thing. I've been able to help people start their businesses and create their brands, and it's truly what I'm I won't say meant to do. It's definitely like the next phase of where I'm going with my business and my gifts. But I'm able to share with people the things I've been through in social media, how to not get caught up in it, focus on the things you're putting out there, not worrying about the response you get back from people. Truly trying to do it in the most authentic way with integrity. And that's missing in a lot of e-commerce businesses. It's missing in a lot of brick and mortar businesses. So I try to just help people transition their businesses during this climate from brick and mortar to online, and do it in a way where they don't feel overwhelmed by the things I experienced moving into the social media and the internet world. So it's wild.
I love the whole business strategy. I think that was brilliant. And then, like, things happen for a reason, and there are no mistakes. And I really like how you're aligned with that, because you're looking at the brighter side. I keep giggling to myself because you talk about there is a healthy side of the way you handled the spray tanning versus 30 years ago when I entered. I had been entering competitions in my early years.
Oh gosh, what were they doing it with?
One of my buddies, one of my close friends, he spent some time in Venice at the Gold's Gym out there, and he came back and shared with me the concept. He goes, "Listen, you're gonna look so bronzed, man, but this is what you need to do. You need to go down to the hardware store and pick up walnut wood stain." I said, "What? Why?" And he goes, "Get some gloves and a plastic to lay down on the floor." And I go,
I feel like I have hives coming on just hearing this story.
I will tell you,
the chemicals in those things.
But that's why I said you're probably the most unhealthy. But you look like I mean, I'm sure I look like a statue.
Was that layers too? Did you have to let it marinate?
Oh, I had to sleep on the plastic and let it just the wood stain, as soon as it touches, you're stained. And we did 2 coats.
Seeping into your pores and your organs, and
I mean, look at them now.
Maybe that's why I'm retarded right now. I don't know. I just,
you have. Granted, the skin is the largest organ, and we do absorb. But
I might as well have drank. I should have just drank the stuff. I would have been fine.
So I have to, think about those things when I'm talking to people about that industry too. And I was very blessed to have a manufacturer in my spray tanning world that he was a cancer survivor, and he looked at all the ingredients that were in the product. So we made it all by local ingredients in California. We manufactured here. So he was very astute to that, which brought me into that world off the bat, learning about the issues with self-tanning. And
well, you probably heard of my close friend that I went to high school with, Stacy Kaufman, who started Pro-Tan back in the day. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
It's still around.
Big competitor. Yeah, absolutely.
I figured as much, but
but Tam, you understand, when you were born, he was laying on plastic with paint on him. So
it's amazing that you're here.
Let's put things in perspective of timelines, right? So so you can't really compare what him sleeping in the paint department and you being born. So we got to put things in perspective.
Even when my mom and dad were bodybuilding, Terry, I don't know if you know the weird things they were told to do to stay lean, but there was nothing healthy about what they were doing, and you didn't know. There was no real science that was being done in that industry. And, I'm grateful that my dad did have a head to, or mind to, not want to go the extreme route. And I think he walked away before wanting to do heavy steroids or anything. So, I'm maybe I was spared some of the things they could have been doing, but it was the wild, wild west out there for a while.
Tamra, we're going to go into our rapid fire questions. And I think you have a quick wit. But I think it's going to be pressure for you to try to keep it short. You ready?
I know, right?
All right. Here you go. It's all right. All right. Question number 1. What is the best pre-event fitness or bodybuilding competition ritual that you have done?
Sleep.
Well, you're doing good so far. All right. Question number 2.
I got this. Come on. You guys are slow.
I'm cracking up because she went from like, long paragraphs to the perfect one word. All right. Question number 2. Best self-help tip for any woman.
Find God.
Oh, she's good at this. Yes. Favorite song that you listen to at the gym, in the gym?
Anything R&B.
Really? All right then. Question number 4. What is your favorite cheat food?
Oh, I don't believe in cheating. I just freaking love ice cream. After every meal, gotta have it. The best is Talenti Blend. It's a bourbon bourbon fudge brownie. It sells out quick. You gotta get it. Shout out to Talenti on that one. Oh. I just found it a couple weeks ago. It changed my life.
Oh, I need to find this one.
Bourbon fudge brownie.
My wife and Tyler ice cream every night. So
okay, I'll bring it, and we'll do some whiskey axe throwing, and I'll bring the bourbon ice cream.
Love it. You're in. Bow.
Let's do it.
Still got the guns. You still got the guns. All right.
I can't help it. It'll be there forever. Thanks. Shout out, Mom.
Question number 5.
Okay.
Favorite exercise?
Legs, glutes, anything.
Really?
Probably sumo deadlifts because I'm short and bow-legged. It's just easy for me.
And actually, this is an added question. What's your favorite body part?
Legs.
On you. Legs.
Okay. Yeah, just because they're strong and, easier to build because of soccer. But I seem to find the easy way out of things. Just more
soccer.
fun.
You got soccer legs.
And arms, I'm not trying to, build because I'll look like the Hulk. So, legs.
And you're going to have to spray tan yourself green there.
Yeah. I could.
I do want to go back to one thing. I had, your dad, your brother, myself, we're all chiropractors, and I know. And I'm sure that had something influence in some of the directions you went. But I've been getting a lot of patients that have unexplained health conditions. This is pre-pandemic, and one of them ended up removing her implants, and all of it went away. Can you describe some of the symptomatology of reactions that people may not think of? They know about the hives, they know about the joint pain, but what are some symptomatology that they may not associate with implants?
So for me, the hives came 2 years after. It was probably reactionary to some of the stuff that was still in my body, but it was a super reaction to me. This was revealed through spiritual, through praying and stuff, but that was through deep-seated anger I was holding on to from my childhood that needed to come out. So my hives were from that. But women do get hives as allergic reaction to the silicone and various, there's 38 carcinogenic toxins that make up a silicone and saline implant. And what women don't understand is that saline is just as bad. It's not the saline, it's the bag around it. And that is made of the same constituents that the silicone have. And they tell you that they're lifetime safe devices. That is the general, endorsement to these things. And
like the vaccine.
Yes. Right.
Sorry,
right.
had to throw that in there.
It's all one and the same. That's why I'm so grateful God opened my eyes to this in 2018, because I was ready and prepared for what was going to come down the pipeline in 2020. But in 75-degree weather, it's fine, right? But put into a human body that's made, to destroy whatever is foreign in it, that is its job. And it's a higher temperature, and your immune system instantly goes into get this out, break it down, I don't want it. So it builds this capsule around it. Now, in this capsule, in theory, is protecting your body from this foreign entity. However, it's not foolproof. It's made out of your own, material. Scar tissue is tough, but it's still porous in terms of things will seep through it. And it keeps the implant from traveling through the body, great. But it doesn't keep the microparticles that these implants are made of from traveling through your bloodstream, from getting into your major organs. And you don't have to have a leak or a rupture of these things to have your body go into complete shutdown of all systems. So everyone's body looks different. Every woman's body is built differently. Your immune system is built differently. Your precursors are different. So whereas I was affected respiratory system, mental, like I had severe brain fog, and my memory loss was bad, my blurred vision. I had severe sinus infections, bronchitis, pneumonia for like 2 years straight, lost a whole bunch of weight. I had ovarian cysts that were rupturing all the time inside me, so I had internal bleeding. My muscles, my joints felt like they were 85 years old. I couldn't even, they felt like they were just going to snap if I stretched. So odd symptoms that you wouldn't necessarily go, that's breast implants, right? And when I was going through it, though it was only 3.5 years ago, I won't say the studies weren't there. I will say the information out in the public was not readily available. People were talking about it in chat rooms and things like that, but the voices were being muted because of those 3-letter entities that love to silence people in class actions forever, or just pay them off, or just claim that they're crazy and it's all just in your head, which is the thing that happens to most women, is you get told that you're crazy and it's all in your head. And that plays into this whole, I guess I just will live with it and I won't, have anything done. And so the symptoms are a wide variety. Like I told you, you can have markers that look like MS and lupus, and you can develop severe issues if yours leak or rupture, because then you have...
How long did you have them for?
I only had them 6 years.
When did you start noticing things?
Retrospectively, probably around 3, but really bad. Couldn't work anymore. Was sleeping 12 hours a day, midday. Was probably around year 3.5, and I just couldn't do life anymore. And the real physically, I could push through. I'm an athlete. I could push through things. I could do fitness shoots in freezing gyms for hours and hours without food. I could do that. I did it even while I was sick. It was when my mental faculties started going, and I couldn't articulate words that I had known since I was young, and I couldn't remember people's names I had known for 20 years. And I just started shutting down, and mentally it affected me more. I left a relationship. I was, deeply in love with this person. I just felt like I was not myself anymore, and I had to go, away, basically. So I had got an apartment myself, and I'd gone there to basically die, because the doctors could not figure out what was wrong with me. And that was my come to Jesus moment.
When did you, okay, then, yeah.
Yeah, so that was early February 2019, and I was just laying on the floor of that apartment, and I was freezing. I had pneumonia, and I hadn't eaten in days, and all the doctors said, "You look great. All your numbers are great. You're healthy. You're fine." I had just gotten a penicillin shot to my ass a couple days before that. Didn't do anything. And I'm coughing up blood, and I had lost 38 pounds, and I'm 135 pounds. So I was, wasting away. And I remember just I can't really know if it was audible or it was just for sure in my head, but I heard it so clearly. It was just a voice that said, "Take them out and I'll do the rest." Mind you, no idea what breast implant illness is. Never heard of it affecting people like this. Didn't know that's what God was talking about when he said, "Take them out." But the next day I was on social media. I just happened to be scrolling through a page I follow, which was about celery juicing and cleansing. I was trying everything. I was vegan. I was gluten-free. I was sugar-free. I was everything free. I was basically eating just celery juice. And this girl was on his page, and she said, "I'm so grateful to this celery juice cleanse for my healing process with breast implant illness." I don't know what it was, but that one word I saw, or the 3 words I saw, just made me go to her page, and it was like, light bulb. And the next 3 days, I just spent like a crackhead on the computer, just researching everything I could about it, going down rabbit holes, learning about reading full class action suits against Dow Corning in the 70s. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is it. And that was my process to start looking for surgeons to take them out. I was dead set on it. I went through 8 plastic surgeons that refused to do it, said that I was crazy, that I would be disfigured and no one would love me, and it was a stupid decision. I should just get newer, better ones put in. I should just get the newer, best ones on the market. And I'm like, no, I want them out, and no one would do it. And then through my dad, it was such a blessing. I'd given up. I actually had stayed with my dad and my stepmom for a couple of days. They saw how bad I was. My dad was like, let's just try one more person. I have a client, 7 years now. He's got neck issues, and he's like, he relies on me, and he's a plastic surgeon. I don't know if this is what he does, but like, just call him. And 8 a.m. the next morning I called, and they said, come in right now. Like, just, you know, based on my dad, which was just such a godsend. And he saw me 4 days later to have him out. And like I said, I have not been sick with what I had one day since I got them out. And that's why I knew for sure that was it, you know.
Tamra, we're going to wrap up, but I want to ask you if there's anything in particular that you want to share as a final word of wisdom to a lot of the listeners that are just having epiphanies and revelations right now. Anything in particular?
Yeah, it's that I know it's scary to find out that this is something that could possibly be what's affecting you, but know that who you truly are is on the other side of taking them out, because it affects every system in your body. It will truly rob you of a life that is authentically yours and the lives of all those around you. So there are women out there. There's hundreds of thousands of us in groups. You can reach out to me by email or DM. I can get you involved in these groups. It's what helped me find what I needed to. There's one called Breast Implant Illness by Nicole on Facebook. There's about, I think, 300,000 of us in that one. And we're out there, and your life can, like, you can get your life back. And it's not about the physicality of these things. It's not about like feeling more feminine. I feel more feminine, more womanly, more desirable with them out. Took me a while to get there, I'll be honest, because I had to go through a lot of releasing some mental shit and that psychological stuff I've been holding on to. But trust me, like, you will never look back from coming home to your own body. So yeah.
And the most important part is to really develop your self-esteem and understanding of why you felt like you needed them to begin.
And that's the hardest part about what this process begins for people. Some people aren't ready for it, but you got to start somewhere. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Tam, you know, on that note, we're gonna close down, because you just said something really important. That is, you know, you're just beautiful from the inside out, and I've always loved you to death.
Thank you. Love you too, Tim.
You are a light for so many women out there. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll put every tag, everything we can out there to help people out.
Yeah, I hope someone hears it that needed to, that had no idea this conversation was going to be about this. Even if it's a guy who's like, that might be happening to my wife or my girlfriend or my sister or my mom. That's usually what triggers it, and it's wild, that ripple effect.
Well, I think, and also for Spencer, he might finally get rid of his butt implants, you know, and so, you know, it might help him. So, you know what? Thank you for everything you do for
I don't have
women.
butt implants.
Yeah, whatever.
So you have to clarify.
Yeah, just go back and lay in the paint department. So,
we've learned so many valuable lessons today.
So thanks for putting a light into our life and helping every woman out there.
Thank you guys for having me so much.
We'll see you soon, and I expect the ice cream at my house within a week, and we'll do some axes and have some fun. So love you to death.
Love you.
Have a good night. Until next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Crackin' Backs podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and make sure you follow our Instagram at Crackin' Backs Podcast. Catch new episodes every Monday. See you next time.